Hey, do you have a couple of minutes? We want to get a tour of the building and maybe ask you a couple of questions because we're very interested in the HBA program.
Sure.
All right, actually, I've got 48 questions.
Oh, kind of like a 48-hour report.
Exactly.
Okay, let's go.
So to start, what's your name and what year are you in?
My name's Grant, and I'm currently in my HBA 2-year here at Ivey, which means I'm in my 4th year here at Western.
Awesome. And which city did you grow up?
So I'm from Calgary originally, and I grew up in Saskatchewan as well as Alberta.
Nice. And what was it like making the big move here?
It was a big move. For me, it was kind of a new opportunity to sort of see the other side of Canada and meet new people, but it was also kind of scary just going where I literally knew no one and had no family.
Yeah, for sure. And which high school did you go to?
I went to West Island College in Calgary.
Nice. And did you visit Ivey or Western before you landed on campus?
Yeah, I came here in grade 11 and then in grade 12.
Nice. And why did you choose Ivey and Western?
That's a good question. For me, I think it was the fact that when I came to Western, I just felt so at home. Everyone just seemed super nice, and it was just like a really inclusive atmosphere. And then on top of that, because it's sort of a bigger school, there's just lots to get involved in and lots to do, which is what I love to do.
Yeah, for sure. That's also a lot of the reasons why I'm thinking of coming here too.
You should.
And were you in residence?
I was.
And which section? Oh, what is an HBA section actually?
That's a good question. So an HBA section is sort of like your family. How it works is in your HBA 1 year, essentially you're put in a randomly assigned section, and then you're with those people every day from 8 to 1. And I can show you what a section classroom looks like.
Oh, that would be great.
So this is where I spent all day, every day for all of last year with 75 of my best friends.
Wow, and which section were you in again?
I was in section 5.
Awesome. Are you thinking of doing a dual degree?
No, but I was in political science before this.
Nice. Are you going on any exchange or any other international opportunities?
So I went to Singapore in my first year on a summer term exchange, and then I also went on the Ivey Israel trip this last semester.
Cool stuff. And did you do an internship?
Yeah, so in my second year summer, I worked for Parks Canada in investment planning and reporting, and then in my third year summer, I worked for Bain & Company as an associate consultant.
Awesome. Favorite class?
I'd have to say financial fundamentals or accounting in my first year. And then in my second year of HBA, I really liked wealth management with Chuck Grace.
Mm-hmm. And favorite prof?
It's a tie. I'd say Mary Gillett, who taught me financial fundamentals, or Lauren Cipriano, who taught me DMA.
Mm-hmm. And are you involved in any clubs or groups at Ivey?
Yeah, that's kind of why I like Ivey. I'm involved with the Ivey Pride Club. I'm president, as well as the Ivey Entrepreneurship Club, and then also involved with Ally at Ivey and the Ivey Consulting Club.
That's great. There definitely seems to be a lot of different opportunities for people to get involved in.
There's so much to do.
So is there an area of business that you're particularly interested in?
For me, I'm really interested in consulting because that's what I'm going into. But more broadly, as I sort of go through my career, I hope to get more involved in social impact and pro bono and nonprofit.
That's awesome. And has that changed over the years?
Yes. When I first came to Western, I barely knew what business was and like what the different career options were. And for me, when I first came to Western, I was like, oh, I really want to do marketing because I sort of like design and communications. But the longer I was here, I realized that I just sort of like talking to people and kind of communicating a message, which is then when I realized that maybe consulting was more what I'd like.
For sure, for sure. And do you have a favorite part of the building?
I think my favorite part is coming up at the library, just because it's super cool. I find just the design, it feels kind of homey, but it's also a great place to study.
That's awesome. Are you going to take us on a quick tour of the library?
Yes, although we'll have to be quiet. Go take a look inside. It's pretty cool.
And what's your favorite part of Ivey?
I think for me, my favorite part is probably the people. The building's cool, and I think like the case method's cool, but for me, getting to meet so many people that do so many cool things, they really push me to sort of be the best version of myself every day.
And what do you think you'll miss the most looking back?
Probably the people. I think it's just so cool being surrounded by people that are doing such cool things, and just being able to see them all day every day is one of my favorite parts of the program.
Switching gears a little bit, what's the most challenging part of Ivey?
I think the most challenging part of Ivey, but in general, is working with people. You work with so many different people who have so many different ideas, and I think sort of balancing that with also trying to, get work done is something that's difficult, but very, very rewarding.
For sure. And what's one of these rooms?
So this is a breakout room. This is where you do a lot of your 48-hour reports and any kind of group work that you have to do. I'm working on a small business right now, and we do a lot of our work here in a breakout room.
Wow, that's really cool. And what's your experience been from your first 48-hour report to your last?
That's a good question. My first 48-hour report, I think we were really obsessed with getting the right answer, and we're like, we have to figure it out. But by the last 48-hour report, we realized that it's an exercise in working with other people, and the faster you're able to work with one another, the faster you'll get done.
Any words of advice?
Be open to new ideas. I think a lot of people go in and they read the case and they go, this is the answer. But oftentimes people have worked in different fields, and there's people from engineering and music and arts, and that means they have unique perspectives that could actually be more of the right answer.
Yeah, that's great. We'll definitely keep that in mind. What are the 3 words to describe what it was like shadowing CEO for a day at the Toronto Region Board of Trade?
So I got to participate in CEO for a day about a month ago, and Jan De Silva with the Toronto Board of Trade, her job is really to manage a bunch of stakeholder relationships. They do advocacy work. The Board of Trade is this really big organization, and I didn't even realize it. And so for me, it was challenging to kind of be, on the same level as someone that's highly successful and really influential, but really inspiring to sort of see the work she's doing. And finally, I'd say it was collaborative. It was a bunch of people that were all working towards one mission, and that was just helping create a better Toronto region for the people of tomorrow.
That's awesome. So, who's someone you would love to have a coffee chat with?
Probably Michelle Obama, because I feel like she's someone that was really, really close to a lot of very important people and would just have a really cool perspective.
Yeah, for sure. She definitely seems like a very cool person to talk to. Speaking of which, what's the good dress code for Ivey?
That's a good question. I tend to wear my Ivey sweater whenever I can. I'll put it on right now. There we go. That's more comfortable.
Awesome. Since we're approaching Starbucks, how do you take your coffee?
So I made a commitment this year that I wouldn't drink coffee, but I gave up on it a couple weeks ago. So now I take it black with a milk, but honestly I prefer more like a caramel macchiato.
Whoa, go-to order indeed. So, did you discover that you had any misconceptions about Ivey, whether that's like progression requirements, diversity in the cases, class, environment?
That's a big question. I'm gonna grab my coffee first. I think for me, before I came to Ivey, I was really intimidated by it because I didn't know if I'd get in, right? And so the biggest concern for me was like, are my marks high enough? Do I have enough extracurriculars? It was something that consumed me. Like I recalculated my average every day. But once I got here, I realized that, everybody comes from really diverse backgrounds and does really cool things. And so you just need to do what you like in your first 2 years and you'll do well in it. And I found that the courses that I took because I thought they were easy were not the courses I did well in. And the courses that I really enjoyed, I actually did well in, and that's what got me to Ivey.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that's very important for young people to hear. Do you have a favorite thing to eat in the eatery?
So the Ivey Eatery I'm a big fan of because every day they have like a different thing at lunch. On Tuesdays it's Taco Tuesday and I'm a big fan of that.
Ooh, love tacos. So what's the scariest thing you've done in your life?
So in first year, when I was going to Singapore on my summer term exchange, I went to an island off the coast of Bali called the Gili Islands. And when I was there, I did something called subwing, which is where you like snorkel underwater while being pulled behind a boat and then like kind of surf underwater, which was kind of crazy.
Wow.
I didn't tell my mom.
Wow. You went alone?
I did go alone.
Similar of which, what's the most valuable thing you've learned in university?
I think for me, it was learning to be open to a bunch of different perspectives. In university, you're challenged to think about things differently, and you meet people all the time that you might agree with, their social stances, or you might be able to be friends with them in one way, but then they challenge you in another way. And I think for me, it was opening my mind to the fact that people have different perspectives and have had different life experiences.
What's the first job you've had?
So my first job, I delivered flyers, and then immediately following that, I worked at McDonald's.
Nice. And what's the hardest challenge you faced?
I think for me, leaving home was a big one. It was a big transition, and the challenge in it is trying to be really involved and get a name for yourself somewhere else that you don't really have many connections, and that's just a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like a lot of us resonate with that, especially in first year.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for stress management?
That's a good one. For me, I try and separate stress into sort of like two different categories. There's stress that's like more long-term and stress that's short-term. So long-term stress can be things like family problems or really, long timeline issues, and short-term stress is like assignments and that kind of thing. And so long-term stress, I try and give myself some time every day to, worry about that and compress it into that time. And short-term stress, I try and prioritize it and get through things as quickly as I can. But there's lots of great resources on campus that I've been able to take advantage of. One of them being like the Wellness Education Center, which is really helpful if you're going through a period of a lot of stress.
Definitely really important. I've been hearing a lot about IVO Week. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so IVO Week is just like main campus orientation week. You do a bunch of different activities. You get to know your section. That's when your section reveal is. And you do lots of stuff because it's in September, so you get to do different games on the field and that kind of thing. I was actually a guru this year, which is like an O-Week leader, and I recorded my entire experience on the Ivey Instagram story. So if you go to Ivey Business, you can see it there.
That's awesome. Mac or PC?
I'm a Mac guy.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone. Actually, I'm a PC guy from doing Excel, but Mac for everything else.
Fair. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
When I was first starting my company, my dad said to me, under-promise and over-deliver. And what that means is you never want to over-promise because that's hard to manage. And under-promising means that you'll always beat expectations.
Wow, that's very insightful. And is there any advice you would like to give your first-year self?
Chill out. Smell the roses. Like, get to do as much as you can, and because you're in residence and you're surrounded by so many fun people, like, take advantage of it.
Yeah, for sure. Note taken. Is there something you still want to learn?
I think for me, I want to learn more about artificial intelligence and also machine learning. I think those are big ones for me, but the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know.
I think we can all relate to that in some form. So what's the first thing you always like to know about someone?
For me, I always like to know why someone's doing something. Why are they involved? What motivates them? Those are things that really make me interested.
And what's your biggest goal for 2019?
My biggest goal in 2019 is probably to, I'd say yes to more people and do more things that I enjoy. Yeah.
And what's one thing about you that most people would be surprised to know?
So I actually live with 5 girls that are so much fun. And so all the time we just have a lot of fun, and it's one of my favorite things. This is a really cool view from the building.
Nice.
And then there's another view over here that I kind of like.
Wow.
And these are all breakout rooms surrounding us.
That's awesome.
You wanted a building tour, right?
Yes, we definitely did, and we're glad we're having one. Do you have a favorite study spot on campus?
There's so many study spots on campus. I think for me, I love studying at the libraries. But in addition to that, there's a lot of new buildings that are coming up, which are kind of cool as well, like the engineering building. That's one that I love to show around.
That's awesome. And what are 3 words to describe your Ivey experience?
I think for me, my Ivey experience has been one that's challenging, but it's been one that's collaborative. It's been really fun, and for me, it's been something that's been inspiring. It's something that's really pushed me to sort of be the best version of myself, and the people that have surrounded me have made me a better person, I think.
That's great.
I'm going to show you what the library and the engineering building look like.
That would be amazing.
Normally I don't get to go in here, but for this video, I guess we can.
Ooh.
So on your right side there, that's the new engineering building. It has some really cool views right next to the rec center. And then on your left-hand side, that's the Weldon Library.
Wow, this is a nice room.
It's kind of nice, right? Did you have any more questions?
No, I think that was great.
Wait, who are you?
Oh, I'm just an AEO student who's really interested in your experience.
Nice to meet you.